Do you ever get the feeling that you're being watched? Do you ever feel a presence lingering just beyond your sight? Well, today we are diving into the unsettling realm of unseen presences and the chilling tales of those who have encountered them. We hope that you enjoyed this story. If you did, don't forget to subscribe for more horrifying horror videos. Now, let's begin. From the moment he stepped foot into his new house, Liam felt uneasy. It wasn't the aged Victorian's grand architecture or its secluded location in the whispering pines that bothered him, but an inexplicable sense of dread that clung to him like a shroud. Whispers slithered through the house, rustling curtains even when the windows were bolted shut. Unexplainable drafts snaked around him, and whispers slithered through the halls, brushing against his ear as he passed by. Though when he turned to face the sound, he found only vacant hallways staring back at him. But it was the photographs that truly unsettled him. Each image held an eerie familiarity, yet none seemed to feature the former owners. Were they hiding in plain sight, he wondered, or had they been erased from existence? Driven by a morbid curiosity, he delved into the attic, uncovering a trunk filled with faded snapshots. Each picture revealed a family frozen in time, their smiles haunting, their eyes vacant. Then he saw one photograph that sent shivers down his spine. It depicted a gathering of peculiar individuals, their faces obscured by shadow. Yet one pair of eyes gleamed through the darkness, boring into his soul. They were his eyes. Had he been a part of this gathering? Was he connected to these enigmatic figures? A young woman named Ella moved into a charming cottage nestled in the heart of the countryside. While exploring her new home, she discovered a hidden room concealed behind a bookshelf. Inside, she found a diary chronicling the life of the previous owner, a woman who had lived there over a century ago. As Ella read the diary, she uncovered a tale of love, loss, and a haunting secret. The entries spoke of a mysterious benefactor who had gifted the cottage to the young woman, but also hinted at a dark presence that lingered within the walls. As the days passed, Ella began experiencing strange phenomena. Unexplainable footsteps echoed around her, and disembodied voices whispered her name in the dead of night. Then there were the dreams. Night after night, she was visited by dreams of a beautiful woman with piercing blue eyes, who seemed to be reaching out to her from beyond the grave. Determined to uncover the truth, Ella delved into the history of the cottage, discovering a tragic tale of betrayal and murder. The woman whose spirit haunted the cottage had been unjustly accused of witchcraft and driven to suicide by the very person she had loved. As Ella pieced together the fragments of the past, she realized that she herself was connected to the haunting. Could she help the tormented spirit find peace, or would she become another victim of the cottage's dark legacy? A renowned archaeologist, Dr. Evelyn Wright, embarked on an expedition to unearth the secrets of an ancient temple hidden deep within the Amazon rainforest. Legend spoke of a powerful curse that protected the temple from intruders, but Evelyn's thirst for knowledge knew no bounds. As her team hacked away at the foliage, revealing the first glimpse of the temple, the air grew heavy with foreboding. An oppressive silence descended upon the clearing, broken only by the buzzing of unseen insects. Evelyn felt a primal fear grip her heart, urging her to flee, but curiosity burned bright within her. Pushing her fears aside, she stepped into the shadowy embrace of the temple. Within its crumbling walls, Evelyn discovered a series of cryptic hieroglyphics depicting scenes of unimaginable horror. As she deciphered the ancient script, she uncovered a terrifying prophecy foretelling the arrival of an outsider who would unleash chaos upon the sacred site. The ground rumbled beneath her feet, and the jungle seemed to stir with a newfound menace. Evelyn realized that she had unwittingly triggered the curse. Now, with the spirits of the jungle awakened, she must race against time to escape the relentless wrath of the vengeful ruins. In the quaint town of Oakhaven, nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering willows, stood an old Victorian mansion shrouded in mystery. For decades, the Blackwood Manor had remained abandoned, its boarded-up windows staring blankly at the world beyond. Locals spoke of strange occurrences within its confines, unexplained lights and sounds echoing from its darkened halls. And when a young couple, Ethan and Olivia, purchased the manor hoping to restore it to its former glory, they had no idea of the horrors that awaited them. As they peeled back the layers of the house's history, they uncovered a tale of tragedy, deceit, and an unfathomable evil that had seeped into its very foundations. For the manor was built on a burial ground, and the spirits of the restless dead refused to let the living claim their home. With each passing day, the spirits grew more agitated, manifesting through chilling apparitions and bone-chilling whispers. Ethan and Olivia found themselves caught in a terrifying game of hide-and-seek, with the supernatural forces determined to drive them from their dream home. As the line between the living and the dead blurred, they had to confront the dark secrets of Blackwood Manor and find a way to set the spirits free or risk becoming trapped within its ghostly embrace forever. A group of friends, Maya, Alex, Noah, and Chloe, decided to spend their spring break at an Airbnb. What they didn't know was that the remote cabin they had rented was steeped in a sinister history. As soon as they arrived, the atmosphere turned. The cabin's rustic charm gave way to an oppressive gloom, and the friends began experiencing strange phenomena. Unexplainable noises echoed through the silent woods, and chilling apparitions flickered at the edge of their vision. Then there were the whispers. Soft, insidious voices slithered through the night, weaving tales of sorrow and despair. Maya, skeptical at first, started to feel a growing unease. The cabin's dark past was seeping into their present, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. As the friends delved deeper into the cabin's history, they uncovered a tale of a family torn apart by tragedy. The parents, consumed by grief, had turned on each other, their whispers echoing through the cabin walls. And now their tormented souls sought solace by tormenting the living. The friends found themselves trapped in a terrifying game of cat and mouse with the spirits of the tormented couple. As the tension mounted, they had to confront the cabin's dark legacy and find a way to escape before they, too, became part of its haunting tale. And that's all for today. Which story terrified you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe and keep your doors locked, because you never know when a sinister presence might try to make itself at home. The winter of 1994 was the coldest anyone in Grey Hollow could remember. The small town sat in the shadow of a mountain range, its streets narrow and crooked, its houses huddled together as though to share warmth. People whispered that the snow that year felt different, heavier, as if it wanted to bury the town alive. Roads closed for weeks at a time, cutting off Grey Hollow from the world, and the residents learned quickly to keep their fires burning through the night. For 19-year-old Clara Winslow, the cold was not the strangest thing that winter. She had lived her whole life in Grey Hollow and had heard the stories the older folks told. The ones about the hollow not being quite right, about people wandering into the woods and never returning, about windows glowing with light in abandoned houses. She had never believed any of it. She was young, rational, and ready to leave the town behind after graduation. But everything changed on a night in late December when her best friend Hannah vanished. They had been at a holiday party in the basement of a neighbor's house, where kids their age gathered to drink cheap beer and escape the endless dark outside. Hannah had gone upstairs to make a phone call and never returned. At first, everyone assumed she had left, maybe walked home in a fit of irritation after an argument. But when Clara trudged through the snow to Hannah's house the next morning, her parents hadn't seen her either. The search began immediately. Dozens of volunteers combed the frozen woods, calling her name until their voices grew hoarse. The sheriff organized teams, dragging the river and checking the abandoned shacks near the quarry. Nothing. Not a footprint, not a scarf, not even a sign of struggle. Hannah had simply vanished, swallowed by the hollow like so many others before her. Clara refused to accept it. She knew Hannah too well, knew she wouldn't run off in the dead of winter without telling her. That night, Clara dreamed of Hannah. In the dream, Hannah stood at the edge of the woods, her hair tangled, her eyes wide. "Don't follow me," she whispered, before turning and walking into the trees. Clara woke with frost coating her bedroom window from the inside, the shape of a handprint pressed into the ice. From that night on, the dreams continued. Hannah appeared again and again, always at the edge of the woods, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, always whispering warnings Clara could barely hear. Each time Clara woke, the frost returned, on her mirror, on her dresser, once even across the sheets near her feet. It was as though the dreams weren't just dreams, but intrusions, something leaking from another place into hers. One morning, desperate and afraid, Clara went to see Mrs. Dalrymple, the oldest woman in Grey Hollow. The townspeople called her eccentric, though some whispered witch. She lived alone in a sagging house filled with herbs and strange symbols carved into the walls. When Clara told her about Hannah, about the dreams, the old woman only nodded. "The Hollow keeps what it wants," she said. Her voice was cracked, but her eyes were sharp. "But sometimes it leaves traces. You're being pulled, child." "She's reaching for you. Why me?" Clara asked. "Because you're the one who will follow." Clara left unsettled, clutching the small bundle of herbs Mrs. Dalrymple pressed into her hand. "Keep them by your bed," the woman instructed. "It may hold the door shut." That night, Clara dreamed again. But this time, Hannah wasn't whispering. She was screaming. Her voice echoed through the trees, raw and terrified. Clara ran toward her, though the ground was soft and sinking beneath her feet, the trees closing in like ribs of a cage. She woke choking on the taste of soil in her mouth, her sheets damp with melted snow. The bundle of herbs had been scattered across the floor, torn apart as though by claws. She told herself she was losing her mind. Grief, exhaustion, isolation, it could explain everything. But deep down, she knew better. Something had Hannah. Something wanted Clara too. A week later, another person disappeared. A man named Thomas Reed, who lived alone near the edge of the woods. His neighbor found his front door ajar, his fireplace cold, his footprints leading into the snow and stopping abruptly at the tree line. No body was ever found. The town grew restless, locking their doors, boarding their windows. But the disappearances continued. By January, 6 people had gone missing. Clara felt the pull stronger every night. Her dreams blurred into waking hours. She would see Hannah's figure on the street just ahead of her, only to blink and find no one there. Once, she woke standing barefoot in her backyard, the snow around her trampled in a perfect circle. She couldn't remember how she had gotten there. Her parents begged her to see a doctor, but she knew no doctor could explain what was happening. The breaking point came when Hannah appeared not in her dreams, but in her room. Clara woke to find her sitting at the foot of the bed, pale, her lips blue with cold. Her eyes were hollow, her breath misting in the air. "It's not me," Hannah whispered. "It's wearing me." Clara reached out, but her hand passed through Hannah's arm. The figure shuddered, then dissolved into mist. The room grew so cold the glass in the window cracked. Clara sat shivering until morning, unable to move. She returned to Mrs. Dalrymple the next day, desperate. The old woman looked worse than before, her hands shaking as she lit a candle. "It's the Hollow itself," she said, "a hunger that wears faces. It knows you see it. That makes you dangerous. It will not stop. What do I do?" Clara pleaded. The old woman hesitated, then handed her a small leather-bound book. "This is older than the town. It has words that can close the door if you're strong enough. But once you start, it will fight you. And if you fail..." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. That night, Clara prepared. She sat in her room with the book open on her lap, candles burning around her. The words were strange, curling on the page like smoke. But she spoke them anyway, her voice trembling. At first, nothing happened. Then the air grew heavy, pressing on her chest. The candles flickered, though no wind stirred, and then the whispers began. A dozen voices at once, low and mocking. They rose from the floorboards, from the walls, from the air itself. Clara clutched the book, reading louder, her throat raw. The shadows in the corners of the room thickened, moving on their own, coiling like serpents. She saw Hannah's face among them, eyes wide, mouth stretched too far in a grin. "Come with me," it said in Hannah's voice, though the mouth did not move. "It's warm here. No more cold. No more pain." Clara screamed the words from the book, though she could barely see them now. The letters writhed across the page, shifting into shapes that made her stomach churn. The shadows surged forward, wrapping around her arms, her legs, her throat. She couldn't breathe. She forced the last words out in a ragged gasp, and the shadows exploded in a burst of icy wind. The candles went out. When Clara woke, it was morning. The book lay in ashes on the floor. The frost was gone from her windows. For the first time in weeks, she felt warmth. She thought maybe it was over, but that night she dreamed again. She stood in the woods, the snow falling in thick silence. Hannah was there, smiling now, her face gentle. "Thank you," she said. "You let me in." Clara woke to find herself standing at the edge of the forest, barefoot, her nightgown soaked with snow. The trees loomed around her, whispering with voices she almost recognized. Behind her, the town slept, unaware. Ahead of her, the hollow waited, endless and dark, and Clara took her first step forward. She was never seen again. Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Like someone or something is always there observing your every move, lurking just out of sight? Imagine this. You're moving into a new city seeking fresh starts and new opportunities. You find an apartment that seems promising, but little do you know it's nestled right across the street from a creepy abandoned boarding house. Your new home might come with an uninvited guest. What you're about to hear happened to a man who rented an apartment overlooking an eerie derelict building. His life turned upside down when he realized he wasn't alone. Brace yourself, because this terrifying tale is just getting started. This chilling narrative is part of the popular No Sleep Reddit series. These anonymous stories flood the internet with spine-tingling tales that blur the lines between fiction and reality. Just before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more scary stuff. Also, stick around until the end for a bonus creepypasta that will keep you up at night. Now let's dive into the story. Our protagonist was a guy who relocated to the bustling city of New York City. He found a job and a small apartment on Mercer Street. Everything seemed fine until he noticed a dilapidated brick building with iron balconies and tall windows. People called it the boarding house. It had been vacant for over 3 decades since a fire forced everyone out. According to locals, the city should have demolished it long ago. He thought it was just an old abandoned house. However, everything changed one night when he looked out his window and saw a mysterious light flickering inside. Was someone living there illegally? This became his nightly ritual, gazing at the flickering candlelight in the windows, wondering who was responsible. He discussed it with his landlord, but the landlord claimed the building had been empty for 30 years with no electricity or water. Despite these claims, the mysterious light persisted. Sometimes visible from his bedroom window, sometimes from his bathroom window, it always flickered, but never shone steadily. Then he saw the faces. He was brushing his teeth when he caught sight of someone standing in the window across the street. He rubbed his eyes, certain he had imagined it. But when he looked back, the person was still there, staring directly at him. The unsettling thing was that the person's face seemed pale and distorted. He dismissed it as a trick of the light, or maybe he had really seen a trespasser. The next night, the light appeared again, accompanied by another face pressed against the glass. This time there were 2, both appearing high up in the window. Each night brought new faces. Occasionally he'd spot one, occasionally several, sometimes peering from above and sometimes from below. Once he even saw 5 faces tilted perfectly in sync, as if tracking his every move. He considered himself paranoid, especially since others didn't seem to notice anything unusual. However, these encounters were only the beginning. He also noticed other peculiarities surrounding the boarding house. The air on Mercer Street near the boarding house was noticeably colder than anywhere else in the neighborhood. Even during summer, cats refused to venture near the building. Delivery drivers would park at the corner and avoid delivering to that side of the street. And at night he occasionally heard low, rhythmic chanting emanating from the house. Though he couldn't make out the words, it filled him with dread. One night he woke up to his apartment light flickering. Startled, he realized it wasn't his light. but a spill of light coming in from outside. He looked across the street and was shocked to see every single window in the boarding house ablaze with light. Unlike before, the light was steady, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. Each window revealed a figure standing silently. My heart pounded as he saw them. They were gathered in silent vigil, their presence both menacing and intriguing. What were they doing? What was their connection to the house? He couldn't sleep that night. He spent hours watching the boarding house, his unease growing with each passing moment. Suddenly, all the lights went out except for the one directly opposite his window. He stared at the last flickering light, unable to tear his eyes away. He watched in suspense as a hand slowly waved from behind the light. The next morning, he awoke with a start, drenched in sweat. He checked the window, and it was dark. But that wasn't the strangest part. He found black soot marks on his balcony railing where there shouldn't have been any. His balcony had been empty the night before. He inspected the rest of the apartment, finding no signs of forced entry or disturbance. Yet the soot footprints remained, a cryptic message left behind in the darkness. Then the dreams began. In his dreams, he found himself trapped inside the boarding house. The halls were endless, adorned with damp, peeling wallpaper and reeking of mold and smoke. Pale, expressionless figures lined the hallways, shoulder to shoulder, their eyes hollow sockets staring straight ahead. He could never touch them or even speak to them. They merely watched as he walked past. No matter which way he turned, the halls stretched endlessly, the doors locked. Behind him, slow, measured footsteps followed. Closer, too close. He tried to ignore it, convince himself it was just stress from work, but the occurrences continued to escalate, becoming more frequent and harder to dismiss. Knocks echoed at his window, despite his apartment being on the 3rd floor. He found additional soot prints on his balcony. He began avoiding Mercer Street, but the events followed him. He saw the pale figures reflected in shop windows or lurking in the shadows of subway tunnels. Everywhere he went, those same blank faces seemed to watch him. Always the same haunting grin. Some days, he spotted them in the glass panes of his office building at night, forming a silent procession on the other side of the window. Their gazes unwavering, their silence deafening. The dream continued to intensify, culminating in him standing before a door deep within the boarding house. Faint voices whispered on the other side, beckoning him closer. He could hear the whispering growing louder as if they were calling his name. His hand reached out as if on its own accord to grasp the doorknob, and he woke up with his hand gripping his apartment door handle, ready to step out into the rain-swept night. As time passed, the line between the waking world and his dreams blurred, enveloping his thoughts and actions. He felt compelled to answer their call. The next morning, his neighbors found his apartment vacated, but the key was still in the lock. His things were untouched, suggesting he had vanished without a trace. Had he crossed over into the enigmatic realm of the boarding house forever? The final piece of the puzzle came when his neighbor recounted the previous tenant's tale. Apparently, the former resident had also been captivated by the mysterious boarding house across the street. She had become fascinated by the elusive figures she saw in the windows and had embarked on a similar path of discovery. The neighbor had casually mentioned the story to her landlord, only to be met with a dismissive wave of the hand. As our story's narrator delved deeper into his own investigation, he stumbled upon a disturbing truth. The tales of the previous tenant and his own experiences intertwined, forming a chilling narrative. Both he and the woman before him had been drawn to the boarding house, consumed by the enigmatic presence residing within. They had seen the same faces in the windows, heard the same whispers in their dreams, and ultimately succumbed to the same mysterious fate. But what is the nature of this fate? Did the individuals vanish into the depths of the boarding house, or did they cross over into another dimension? Is the house a portal to another realm? Or is it merely a conduit for spirits to interact with the human world? Perhaps the house itself is a sentient being, feeding on the curiosity and attention of those who dare to peer into its windows. What do you think happened to the main character in the story? Let me know in the comments below. And now for the promised bonus story. Have you ever experienced unexplained phenomena in your own home? Share your encounter in the comments for a chance to be featured. Next, check out these terrifying tales, or click here to subscribe for more spooky content.